Kingdom.
Everybody, welcome back to the Facebook Ads Kingdom podcast. I'm Morty Rapp, your co-host. With me is us Real Rats, my co-host, my boss, and the founder of Rats Pack Media. I actually skipped the intro that we used to have. I'm making it a little bit shorter. Hope you guys appreciate that.
Yeah.
As you can see in my background, I moved, same furniture, different space, different layout. Got some guitars out there. That's nice. Anyway, today, Azrael, we're going to be talking about something we've never really kind of come across. We never really truly tackled this. We're talking about e-commerce platforms. Every store is hosted on an e-com platform, whether it's Shopify or WooCommerce, or it's some custom-made thing that the company made themselves. We're going to talk about it. We're going to unpack it, and we're going to figure out what makes something work. Are you ready?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, let's start with an easy one. What are the most popular e-commerce platforms you see clients using today, and how do they compare in terms of features and other things like that?
Okay, so just so people understand, the internet is built basically on a handful of platforms. So essentially about 30% of the entire internet these days is built on WordPress. WordPress is an incredibly easy platform to use. Anyone could set up a WordPress account and download a theme, and in a couple of days have a WordPress website. Before WordPress, which wasn't that many years ago, probably 20 years ago, if you wanted to create a website, you had to know how to code. And coding made things very difficult. And I'm sure people remember, it wasn't that long ago when people looked at really, really ugly looking websites that were incredibly hard to use, and they were slow to load, and the images wouldn't, fit right on your screen. And so WordPress came along and basically revolutionized that idea. And since WordPress, many other WordPress websites have come out, like sites like WordPress have come out, like Wix and Squarespace and a dozen other competitors in that space. And the whole concept was, can we just make it so incredibly easy for users to one click set up a website, have a basic thing set up, and then it just works. It loads fast, the images are all fitting there, and the theme exists already. So this same concept happened in the e-commerce world. Before, 15 years ago, if you wanted to set up your own e-commerce platform, you would have to figure out a lot of different things. Number one, there's a lot of pages involved in an e-commerce store. You have the home page and the collection pages, the search pages, the product pages, the checkout pages, the cart pages, all the pop-ups that you might want to have on the pages, the credit card processing, right? Like, not every website in the world before e-commerce was a big thing needed to have a checkout page. And so if you wanted to have something like this, you would have to basically custom build an ability to take someone's credit card, not have that then be fraudulently stolen by something on the internet by hacking into your back end or something like that. And so platforms like Shopify came along, but Shopify was for sure not the first one. In fact, Shopify is one of the newer platforms in the space. I would say the two big ones before Shopify were Magento and BigCommerce. And for all of the major e-com businesses that existed before 10 years ago, most of them ended up using one of those two players. The thing I like about those two platforms is that they're incredibly customizable, because everyone thought, my website is special, so I want to be able to have this feature and that feature, and there's no site like mine. I need to, have this special fix. So Magento made it possible to have everything super customizable. The problem was that when you actually looked at it, you didn't actually need all these customizations. So the bulk of Magento just became this very heavy website with very low, slow loading times, and the pictures wouldn't load properly. And so this became an issue that in the desire to be very customizable, it became much bulkier and much more difficult to use, and users couldn't easily just get a site up. So Shopify really revolutionized that concept, which was, rather than I try to make a custom solution for me, I just assume I'm not very special. I'm trying to sell a product on the internet, just like 10,000 other stores online trying to sell that product. I want to have a site that does all the basic things already out of the box. And that's really what Shopify shines at. There's one other important one to mention, which is WooCommerce, which we already mentioned WordPress. WooCommerce is simply the e-com layer on top of WordPress. You already have a WordPress website. Again, 30% of all websites in the world have WooCommerce, WordPress already. Why not just layer on top of it a built-in e-com store? That is WooCommerce. The thing that's interesting about the other three versus Shopify is that most of them are a monthly subscription. You're paying some monthly fee based on the traffic of your site, or maybe just, I think WooCommerce might just be a set fee that you're paying every single month. And businesses like that because they know, okay, I'm paying this flat monthly fee and that's it. Like once I've made over that amount, everything else is gravy. Shopify went in a totally different direction. They say, you're basically going to come on our site. It's going to be super easy to design a website. Everything you need for e-commerce is going to be built into the site. We're going to do all the back-end work. And then we're just going to charge you credit card fee rather than WooCommerce or WooCommerce or Magento, which doesn't have that fee. Meaning, as you scale, Shopify gets more and more expensive over time. As you build to a 10, 30, 40, 50, $100 million business, they're taking a cut of that action every time versus Magento, WordPress, or BigCommerce that is just this flat monthly fee. The catch is what Shopify revolutionized, which is the plugin store, the very same concept that WordPress has, which is I need something very specific on my site. Let me just pay for a plugin, layer it on top of my site, like what WooCommerce is. What if Shopify enabled outside developers to do that? So if there was a case where I want to have something special on my site that isn't already built into Shopify's nice existing theme, let me go pay for that feature. As example, a pop-up that can pop up on a product page to upsell before the person moves to checkout. Or on the checkout page, a counter that says, oh, just a couple more dollars till you get free shipping. Or an add-on on the thank you page that lets them buy an additional product. Like all of these things are plugins built on top of the existing suite that is Shopify. And now, if there is some specific customization I want, I don't have to go and build it, which I would have to do in Magento. I would have to go and pay some programmer to write a program to fit, this specific customization. I could just go and use the exact same tool that other businesses are already using to solve this exact problem. Because again, the very concept of Shopify is I'm not very special. My store is just like every other store. The only difference is that it's my product. The product is the thing that shines on Shopify. So I don't have to have some revolutionary different idea about how my site should work. I should just look like other sites so that the user can come to my site. It can load in the time and the user should know what to expect on a website. They should know how to toggle from one page to the next. They should know how to get to the checkout page. Like I know a lot of custom sites, which we'll get to in a second, where things happen you don't expect as a user. So I, for example, have a client that's not an e-commerce store. Therefore, they're built on some other platform. You add a product to cart, and then the assumption is I'm now going to be brought somehow to cart, whether that's actually moving to the cart page or a pop-up that says, do you want to continue shopping or go to cart? Or 3, there's a thing that sort of slides in from the side and says, hey, here's your cart, right? So that's the expectation I have as a user. But if you're on a site that doesn't do that, the user is confused. Like, well, what do I do now? Like I've added the product to cart. I'm done. I'm ready to go. So they're just like, what do I do?
They have to like manually navigate until they get to the cart.
They have to find it. And so having a site that sort of teaches users as they come to other sites before they came to yours, they know what to expect, what that should be. So that's the one caveat with custom tools is that as you build custom, it means that you can do a lot of amazing things, amazing customization you wouldn't be able to do out of the box with Shopify because maybe you are really that special. But it means that the user has a specific experience, an expectation they have that they're not getting when they come to your site. And because of that, you now have to keep up with the times, constantly updating the store versus on Shopify, where Shopify is actively rolling out new features. As an example, I have a consulting client that I've worked with that they know that most people that buy from them, they're buying multiple gifts at once. So they don't want the product all to ship to them and then them have to give the gift. They want the product to go straight to each person. So they had to customize back in like 2015 a way for a user to add 6 products to cart and then give 6 different shipping
Addresses, yeah.
addresses to go to each one. And now that's not a typical thing you need. Like if I'm going dress shopping, I don't need them to be sent all around the world. I just need them to come to my house. I can wear them. So Shopify didn't have a tool like that. So for the last decade, they've been built on their own custom product tool, meaning they have a full-time dev team that constantly has to monitor if there's something wrong with the site, because who knows, one little line of code could be wrong. And Shopify has a whole team of people dedicated to that, but you don't, you might not. So literally one thing goes down, it could take you a week to get your site back up, right? But they didn't have a choice because of their specific need in their store, they needed to have this customization that wasn't available. Guess what? 3 months ago, Shopify rolled out a whole slew of new features, one of which was custom shipping addresses. Literally, the one feature that was stopping them from shifting over to Shopify is now a built-in tool available for free as part of the Shopify, platform. So that's really the big difference between being on a custom site versus a Shopify is that ability to know I don't have to compete against literally this juggernaut multi-billion-dollar company. I think they're worth like over $50 billion, constantly figuring out how to make my site better versus me paying out of pocket every day to do that. So that's really what the slew of options that exist are, to me, really the five we discussed. It's Shopify, which with its built out of the box, already existing platform with its layer of plugins. 2 is a WooCommerce site that's just layered on top of your existing WordPress site. You layer on top an e-com store and you sell. 3 is Magento, and BigCommerce is 4. Those 2 are really were the big players before Shopify. We're talking about like half the internet's e-com stores before the year 2020 were probably built on those 2. And then the 5th one is a custom site where you still couldn't find a solution for your specific need on any of these stores, and therefore you had to pay someone to literally write the entire code for you from scratch and build you a site to allow users to come and do this very specific thing that otherwise wouldn't be possible on other platforms.
It's interesting to note that the two big behemoths at the beginning of time, I imagine they've lost a lot of market share to WooCommerce and to Shopify. What are these guys like lower numbers now in terms of like, how much?
So one of the questions you have later is what it takes to shift over from one to another. And it's a very painful experience to shift over your site, because it's not like on Facebook. Oh, I need to create a new Instagram account. Let me just like click new Instagram account. I just like download all my previous content and have someone upload it, right? It's not so simple to do that.
Right.
We're talking about like the theme isn't going to be the same. So all of a sudden you're preparing your customers to do this large change on your site. And that shift might, even if it doesn't take a ton of money, it will take weeks of time to build a site you're happy with, because it's all of a sudden you're saying all of these features that were critical to me, they're not available on this other platform. But I want to like look nice. I want to load faster. I want all these other things. I want, whatever it is. So there's things you're giving up. Like you're never going to have the perfect solution. So you have to like basically say, when I'm shifting over, I'm going to lose out on these features. And so that's really the thing, is that these older businesses, these brands that have been around for 50 years and they got online in 2002, right? So those companies, for them, it's very hard for them to shift. So of course,
Shopify, they're just there. Yeah.
Shopify's fighting tooth and nail. They rolled out a thing called Shopify Pro, which is essentially a higher tier model for businesses making over $10 million. They offer, if I understand correctly, you're paying some monthly fee and you decrease the payment you make monthly, you make on the fee. I don't exactly know what the payment structure is, but that's what I believe is happening. You're paying some fee to be in Pro. You get all the Pro features, and then you're paying a slightly lower commission on the percentage in per sale. So they rolled this out, and the whole concept of it was a concierge service for companies that need that talk through when they're moving their site over. So they literally created this entire group of people that their job is to help you move over. So of course they've been eating, BigCommerce and Magento's lunch for years now. Magento is still a very serious player. I have to imagine like still tens of, if not hundreds of thousands of stores still exist on Magento. But to me, if I were starting a store today, the concept of choosing those platforms over Shopify, to me, is like a hard concept to imagine, because They've worked so hard to build something that it works out of the box in 2024. Like the period. It's ready to go. You could buy a theme for maybe $50 and have a store ready. Like just
it self updates, it self regulates.
It's correct. Like all these new features. Like again, your theme will be based on the theme that you choose. That'll be what it is. But then on the back end, they'll be adding all these additional features. Just as an example, Shopify purchased one of their plugins. The plugins which again is a genius model for them. They see that a plugin's doing well on their platform. They just invest in it, right? And now all of a sudden the tool becomes ingrained. So they actually bought out a company that what they did was they enabled customization on the checkout page. So Shopify has a very, very strict, I assume at this point, anyone that's shopped on an e-commerce store, you've seen their very strict layout for what a checkout page looks like.
Sure.
Mirrored, but basically on this side, it's like the information you're putting in, your name, your email, your phone number, your address. On this side, it will show you like the products in your cart, how much you're going to pay, the total value, and then the shipping amount once you put your credit card.
And the VAT and everything.
It's very set up. It's a very strict guideline for what the checkout page looks like on everything. But this guy came in and said, wait, what if I want to customize? I want to add some reviews because we've talked about this before, 2/3 of all users leave the site before buying at that stage. They're leaving right there. So what if I could have on that page reviews or maybe you got the wrong, or like a discount code, right there on the page or something just to get the users to take action. So this guy built the whole tool just to be able to customize, drag and drop.
Yes.
And they just came in and bought the company. And now it's ingrained directly into Shopify.
Which becomes now, it's also kind of interesting what you're saying. Like we always talk about the standards within the marketplace about how users do things. Yeah. And then as a certain thing becomes done over and over and over again, everyone says, hey, I need to do that. That becomes the standard now. It's almost like it loses its nobility. Is that a word? It's like novelty. It's novelty. Yeah. Nobility. It loses its novelty over time. It becomes the standard.
Actually, that's exactly what Shopify did with Shop Pay. So users who shop on Amazon. Now, unfortunately, we don't live in the Amazon economy because we don't live in America. So I already told my wife, if we lived in America, all my paycheck would just go to Amazon, be done. I would have no money left. But Amazon has created this amazing thing, which is essentially you come to a product and you just press buy, it's done. They've taken your credit card information, they've shipped it to your address, it's done, it's finished, right? You don't even know what happened. You just press the button and you've already purchased it. Takes impulse purchasing to a whole nother level. Okay.
Right.
So users have the expectation. They want to be able to have that level of purchase power on Amazon. Now, of course, Amazon also has free 2-day shipping with Prime, and they have all these other features. But Shopify is how do we bring that experience to Shopify? So they created Shop Pay. And Shop Pay is literally the Amazon Buy Now button for all Shopify websites. The entire ecosystem of Shopify now has the ability to use one-click purchase. What happens? I come to my site, I come to my phone, and it asks me for my email address. I put in my email address. It goes, wait, you're already a Shopify Pay customer. I'm like, I'm a Shopify paying customer. Who knew, right? And so it just says, give me the 6-digit code, verification code, which happens automatically on your phone. It sends a text message or an email. You press it, one button press to verify. All of a sudden, it pulls up. It knows your address. It knows your credit card information. It knows everything. It already saved all that information for you. And you could just go and finish the purchase right away, straight on Shop Pay. That's exactly what they did. They took the novelty of the Amazon one-click buy button and started that and enabled that on all Shopify stores. But then they said, wait, why stop at Shopify stores? What if we make this tool, this Shop Pay button, available to other stores? So now there's a WooCommerce plugin and a Magento plugin and a BigCommerce plugin and even a custom tool plugin that you could add to your custom website where you're on some random custom website that's not at all having anything to do with Shopify. You get to the checkout page. All of a sudden, there's that Shop Pay button you know and love. You press one button.
Is it with the Shopify branding and everything?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
just
boy.
like a PayPal button.
Very smart. Yep.
It took the novelty of Amazon one-click checkout and added that to every possible checkout process in the world. And and they get a cut of every transaction.
Brilliant.
So that's the exact thing. You find the novelty, they roll it out for everyone. It becomes a feature that everyone can now use. And that's really why I love Shopify. Now again, I don't make a commission from Shopify if you choose Shopify or not, but it's just like,
Not yet, but Shopify,
eh,
if you're listening.
please sponsor. So that ability to basically come in, you don't pay a monthly fee on Shopify unless you're using shop, whatever. Maybe you're going to pay 50, $100 for your theme one time. And then everything else on the back end is like basically settled for you as far as what features you want to use. And they do this thing once a year where they release like 100 new features. And they call it like the winter guide or the summer guide. And it's literally just like 100 brand new features that you could start implementing right now, right in the back end. Just like one click. Oh, what do I want to do? One click, instead of going to cart, it just go straight to checkout. Like I had a client, we're working right now together, and their cart that we just talked about, right? They add the product to cart, it slides from cart.
Right.
And then on the bottom it says, click here to go to cart. I'm like, you're in the cart. What do you need to press the button for to go to cart? Just go to
Right.
checkout.
Like your users are only buying one product.
Right.
So let's just go. Just send them right to the cart.
Just go. But so what it did was it was adding the product to cart, and then they had to go to cart. But they're already looking at their cart. Like the cart slid out on the side, and then they're going back to this, look at the same thing again. I said, just go now to checkout. All of a sudden, he's cutting 10 drop-offs per 100.
That's right. Yep.
Just like that. And guess what? That's
Money on the
checkbox.
table.
A single checkbox in the back end of Shopify. No code, no anything. Just skip the checkout. Skip to the cart, straight to checkout. So.
Well, we know where your bias is. Let's try to steer this conversation a little bit more towards Facebook ads. Like, how does the e-commerce platform play a role within the Facebook ads? If there's this assumption, and I still believe it to be true, that majority of scale really does come from Facebook ads right now for most e-com companies. So how does the role of, let's say, the e-commerce platform itself, like where does it fit in terms of its relationship with Facebook ads itself?
Yeah. So let's start if you're totally custom. So if you're a totally custom website, the chance that you have also built yourself a back-end analytics tool is unlikely, right? So Shopify already has such a back-end analytics tool. So much like if you were to use Google Analytics, again, it's not a full-grown analytics tool, but like a Google Analytics, it has a lot of information about what pages people are going to and what people are buying and the products that are out of stock and all that stuff. It gives you a suite of analytics. So Shopify, having built that, can work directly with Facebook, TikTok, Klaviyo, MailChimp, whatever, and sync that data that they're collecting and send it back to the platforms. So since the iOS 14.5 rollout back in 2020, Shopify has been working very closely with all major platforms in order to create integrations to basically bridge the gap between the data that's falling through the cracks in these platforms. So Shopify works. So one of the tools that exists now is called CAPI, which stands for Conversion API. And it's basically a second layer on top of your Facebook pixel. So you have your Facebook pixel set up, which I'm sure we spoke about a dozen times or so on this podcast. But on top of the pixel, you want to have an API call, which basically means rather than just the user's interaction firing events, we have the actual server sending data directly to Facebook based on the data it's collecting. CAPI takes one checkbox on Shopify to set up. If you wanted to set up an API call on your website custom, it's a real pain in the butt. Like like you have to hire an engineer to write code to do this. And on top of that, it's a big log of data that's now being stored somewhere, right? You're collecting this
Right.
information. So now all of a sudden, you now have to have a server space on your site to just collect all of these logs that are being sent to Facebook, even if you're deleting them right away. I don't care, it doesn't matter. But now you have to have a system that allows you to do these things so that it could collect the data and submit the data and not know that it's firing correctly, versus Shopify, where you literally logged in 6 years ago, connected your Facebook account to it one time and never thought about it ever again. And it's already happening in the background without you thinking about it. And that's the difference between custom and built, like already built. And I'm sure, I don't use Magento and BigCommerce enough, but I'm sure that they have such a tool like that also, where they're enabling this connectivity. WooCommerce, as an example, you have to use either they have a built-in tool, or I actually like for my WordPress site, I use a thing that used to be called Pixel Cat plugin. And it used to be this cat with a top hat. They since changed to like look more professional, I guess. And it's just called like the Facebook WordPress plugin or something lame like that. And in it, they have a paid tool for WordPress sites to be able to set up your Cappy and set up your Pixel and initiate events on specific landing pages that you wouldn't be easily able to do on WooCommerce. So it's the same exact concept, which is these platforms that are already built and already designed for scale, and not just running your website, but thousands and tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of websites already. So they're able to quickly integrate and work together with platforms like Facebook and TikTok and Snapchat and Klaviyo. So, as an example, months ago, Shopify rolled out a tool with TikTok that enabled you to sync up your products directly into TikTok Shop. The same exact thing to set up your IG shop, your Instagram shopping. Right. Before, you'd have to upload each image individually, write the description into it, versus literally just a one-click integration with IG Shop and Shopify enables you to bring all your products. Guess what? A product goes out of stock. IG Shop knows you added a new product. Oh, it's added already. Don't worry. And so that ability to be constantly integrated and working together, I couldn't do that with Facebook. I can't call up Facebook and say, hey, can we make a partnership where you are grabbing my information in real time across 100,000 websites? No. But Shopify can, because they're a huge, giant juggernaut of a business that has this ability. So essentially, not only have they already worked on building out all these tools to integrate better and connect better and optimize analytics, but also as new things roll out on platforms, they have a dedicated team of people saying, hey, how can we integrate with this to enable all of our companies to have to do this without them having to pay a penny of additional cost to do this. Besides all that fun fact is what I believe an additional layer of optimization within the ads themselves. Because when you set up Facebook Pixel and you're setting up, let's just say your add to cart, your initiate checkout, your purchase events, when you choose an objective on Facebook, an optimization event, and you say, I want purchases. So Facebook's able to look at the platform you're using and say, hey, you're using Shopify. We can now look at users that buy on Shopify and our purchasers. Let us optimize the ad performance to that user. And so now they're able to better optimize the targeting within the ad to the right user based on the fact that you're using a tool that is Shopify. And also they're able, because they're seeing thousands of Shopify stores in real time, they're able to smart model better on Shopify than other platforms. So for example, when I look at a Shopify site's Facebook ads, can make an assumption that between what Facebook is claiming and what is the real authentic return on ad spend or total purchases is relatively similar, within a, let's say, 5 to 15% margin of error, because of the fact that Shopify works so closely with Facebook to enable them to get the data in real time, push the data they actually need to track, versus using another platform or a custom solution where potentially you have no idea. You have no idea what that modeling is because they are not able to take that same data. So I have a client that I work with. They made like $300 million online, but they're built on a totally custom site. So because their site is totally custom, Facebook's not able to talk to the site as easily as they could on Shopify. And the numbers are off by more than 50% because Shopify can't properly smart model, which is what they need to do today to know the numbers. They can't do that. So being on a platform that already has many, many data points all being sent to Facebook in real time enables you to get a better tracking data within the ads platform to know, listen, I'm spending this money and I'm actually getting this much money back. And so that's not really an opportunity within these custom sites, because unless I have a full dev team working on making sure that the CAPI is set up so exactly correct, I am likely not tracking properly. I need a third party tool like a Hyros to be able to track properly on that website. And then I don't even know that I'm properly optimizing my ad targeting because of the fact that I'm losing out on all of that data within Facebook. So
it's like almost like 3 or 4 steps removed
Right.
from your actual campaign data in terms of like actually saying this is the reason why this event happened.
Yeah.
And wow, that's really
And
bad.
then it's basically looking at the difference between a live API event and an offline conversion being sent a couple days later. And so, like, by the time you have sent your data properly to Facebook 72 hours later, you've already spent thousands of dollars on ads that could have been optimized, but Facebook's just in the dark right now and they're waiting to get your data.
Wow. Well, let's talk about something that we mentioned only briefly before. It seems to me, I'm just a layman here, but it seems to me like having a custom shop is not a good idea. Meaning I could imagine why it was done. But it seems to me that it's probably more worthwhile to be on some of these turnkey solution platforms. Have you in your career with your clients ever migrated people from a custom shop to Shopify or something similar?
So that's not a service we provide. So it's not something I'm actively doing, but I have consulted clients many a time on what the best move is. Sometimes their site does a good enough job. Like if I come to a site and I say, listen, your site's already converting well. The site looks nice. Just stay on this platform. Like I actually met a client. They were on Wix. Now, before this company, I never met a company using Wix as an e-commerce site, which is a little bonkers. But for their specific company, they had reasons for being on Wix. I think at the time, the reason was because they wanted a drag and drop landing page. I don't even think there was some like
it's
very
just easy.
intelligent
It's
thought
probably
process.
so easy. Although
it was so
Shopify's
easy to
also
set up.
really easy. Yeah.
It was just drag and drop, and they just needed these features. And when I actually came to the site, it was converting at like a 5% conversion rate, which is bananas high, like crazy high number, versus like average is like 2.5. So they were like converting at double. And so what we found out for their website, why was it converting so well? Because they were uploading HD images for all their product images. And when you come to the page and it's just like this crazy vibrant experience that you don't get on Shopify. Why? Because Shopify cares about loading speeds.
Right.
And so all of a sudden you're uploading 47 products all with HD resolution imagery, and it takes 4 seconds to load the image. Right?
Right.
So Shopify said, we upload in 720. So you upload an HD image, they crop it to 720 automatically. So that was one of the things when they were shifting over to Shopify. They said, listen, we're losing out on this thing. Again, what I said before, you're never going to be happy. It's never going to be perfect. It's never going to be exactly the way you want it, because you're going to lose out on a feature here, a feature there that you had and you loved and you wanted. But when you move to another platform, that platform chooses a different reasoning. Again, they could let you use HD quality imagery, but they saw that load times are so important for websites that they're saying, no, we are going to crop all your page images, because the difference between seeing something in 1080 and 720 is not something that average user can even notice. So they did that. So they moved over to Shopify, not because of that thing, but because they wanted all the benefits that Wix couldn't give them with Shopify. For example, pop-ups and all those discount, like the discount code upsells within the cart to get people to buy, or customizable bundles, which wasn't a thing on Shopify until last year either. So they essentially gave up their beautiful imagery, slow loading Wix website for a Shopify store to get a higher AOV. Mm-hmm. And it actually, I think in the end, they lowered their conversion rate, meaning which would be an interesting move to do, right? Like who would think I want to move over to a site that has a lower conversion rate? But they were able to increase their AOV by $20 per purchase because of all these additional features that Shopify has that Wix just doesn't have built out of the box.
Right.
And so we did do that. We are running ads right now, and the process is not easy, right? It's a really big pain, and I'm sure.
How long did it take them?
It took them, well, the initial like setup to start just to create a shell of a site was about a week just to get the products over. But then to actually have a full functioning Shopify store took another 3 months, right? To actually
Wow.
get all the features they really wanted on their site, it was a much
That's a
more
long time. Yep.
difficult experience. And so they were basically running two sites in tandem.
Oh
They
boy.
had their Wix website that was linked to their Instagram, and then they had this Shopify store that they were sending their email and Facebook ad traffic to.
Okay. Wow.
And until they finally were saying like, okay, now we finally have a site that we're happy with that we can move over to.
Wow. So in terms of like planning for scalability, what would be your opinion just in terms of like how a company should choose which e-commerce platform it should be using, especially in terms of in relation to Facebook ads as well? I mean, I guess we kind of really did mention this. But we could use this as kind of a summary to everything we discussed here. Like how should people be making these decisions? What are the most valuable weights that they should be taking into account when choosing their e-commerce platform or building it
Yeah.
themselves? Yeah.
So
What's your
so we
opinion on
really
that?
touched on quite a few things already that answer this question, which is you have to understand what's important to you as a platform, right?
Yeah.
So if what's important to you is that you have very slow margins, very small margins. So now for me to be paying 3% of every transaction to Shopify might not be an option for me. I might be forced to use a platform like Magento that doesn't have that fee. I now have to call up some third party payment processor and say, I need to use you because I need to get this percentage. And that's the solution you have to go with. Like that's your solution. So you basically have to make a priority list of the things that are the most important to you and say, based on this priority list, what are things that I must have? For example, the gifting website where they have to be able to have that feature that allows users to ship to 6 different shipping addresses based on the fact that they added 6 products to cart. That's a non-negotiable for them.
Right.
So until just 3-4 weeks ago, they weren't able to move over to Shopify. It wasn't even possible. So you basically have to say, my store fits into a box, some box. And in that box, there are features I must have. I must have the ability to sell in bundles. I must have the ability to, quick loading times. I must be able to upload and export products quickly because, I go out of stock very fast, whatever that is. And so based on that hierarchy of the things that are most important to your store, you now have to pick the platform that works best for those things. So that really becomes the question of if my priority is some feature and that feature isn't already built out on Shopify but is on Magento, or it isn't on, or I need, for whatever reason, I need it to integrate with a larger thing because I have a back end sale that's actually done on the phone and I need to integrate. I'm selling this lower product, whatever, this journal, but then I'm really selling a coaching product on the back end. So I need to be able to connect it in with my CRM. And so now I need a tool that does that. So guess what? I think Salesforce has such an e-commerce platform. We didn't even mention Salesforce has an e-commerce platform on top of their Salesforce sites. So you already have your built-in CRM with all of your data, your customer data and everything. And then you're able to have an e-commerce store built directly into your CRM. Now for me, I don't know why I would need that to sell, dresses or whatever. But for some companies, like you imagine for Macy's, they have a huge number of people in their database. They need to be able to email them at the right time and send them messages and tell them when their product is coming or not coming. And they need to be able to store all this data. So maybe to them, they have to have this integration between their CRM and their site.
Right.
They need that tool. So that to me is, you say, I know I'm not that special. My company only has these handful of very specific things that make them that different. And I need the customers to know that I am that different. Maybe your thing is I need super high quality 1080 HD imagery on my picture so that they can buy
Right.
my beautiful art, right? Imagine you sell 6 foot tall, beautiful canvas art and you need the person to know what the product looks like. An example that happened to me in my real life, my wife saw a painting online. She bought it and then it came to the house and the image didn't match the colors. Like the color orange that she saw on the site didn't match the color of the orange that was in the painting, and it didn't
Wild.
work. And the reason why that happened was because the imagery on the landing page that she saw the image from was a lower quality image than the real authentic HD imagery. So maybe for you, that's a really important thing, that you must have super high quality imagery on your page. What if you want to have moving live action video on your homepage, which I know of quite a few businesses that do that, or on the product pages to have things that move? And some of these things are not possible.
Right.
And that's a thing that's really important to you. So that judges where you want to go. But if you're just the normal everyday business trying to sell the same sort of products as everyone else, the likelihood is, if it's good enough for Spanx and the entire Kardashian family, and it's good enough for Supreme, and it's good enough for, the biggest makeup brands on earth, it's probably good enough to sell your knick-knack and paddywhacks.
I have never seen both a knick-knack and a paddywhack on the same website, but when I do, I'm going to let everybody know.
You should check if they are on Shopify.
I think this is a very, very, very insightful pod. I think there's a lot to learn from here. And at the end of the day, all of them will work. The question is, like you said, it's all about, you go down your priority list. If scaling is a priority, if scaling with advertising is a priority, odds are, like you said, Shopify is going to be the one, unless you actually have the bandwidth and the in-house capabilities to make that data transfer between your Facebook and your custom shop. In which case, it could be the custom shop is even a better solution. It's very possible. But it goes down to that priority list.
I would say if you're making under $10 million a year, you should not have a custom shop. I'll make that statement.
There, I said it. Amazing. Awesome. I hope you all learned something from today, and feel free to reach out. Let us know if you have any questions. Let us know if you have any ideas for our next pod. And as always, if you want that free ad account on it, we're willing to do it.
Live on the pod.
Live on the pod. Well, I'm waiting for the victim. A live pod. We're going to get there, though. Awesome,
Peace.
everybody. Have an amazing day. Ta-ta.